Hello, scholars. It's great to have you back to social studies class. Alright, in the previous lesson, I taught you harmful traditional practices. In this lesson, you will be learning about illiteracy. Illiteracy. How many of us have heard of that word, illiteracy? Many of us even make use of this word every now and then. So what do we really understand by the term illiteracy? So in this lesson, we'll look at what illiteracy means. We'll look at the causes of illiteracy, the consequences and solutions to the problem of illiteracy. Alright, what is illiteracy? Illiteracy can simply be defined as the lack of knowledge and the inability to read and write due to lack of formal education. Alright, so when somebody lacks the ability to read and write, or when someone lacks knowledge because of the lack of formal education, such a person is an illiterate. Also, not only when one is unable to read and write, illiteracy can also be seen as ignorance resulting from not reading. What is ignorance? Lack of awareness. When one is unaware of certain facts because such a person did not read, such a person can be termed as an illiterate. Also, when an individual lacks knowledge about a situation or subject, such a person can also be termed as an illiterate. So we can have such terms as a computer illiterate. So for instance, when we say someone is a computer illiterate, it simply means that such a person does not have any knowledge of the computer, or such a person is unable to make use of a computer. So illiteracy is not only all about when someone lacks the ability to read and write, it goes far beyond that. Now let's look at the causes of illiteracy. What are the causes of illiteracy? We have tradition and values, we have poverty, we have wrong policies and priorities, we have wrong attitude to education, learning disability, lack of adequate learning facilities. Now, what is poverty? Poverty can simply be seen as the inability to meet one's basic needs. So one who is unable to meet his or her basic need may not also be able to afford education, may not be able to send his or her child to school. Then we have traditions and values. Now there are certain traditions and values that people still uphold that has led to the problem of illiteracy. For example, the practice of not sending a girl child to school. Then also wrong attitude to education. Some people believe that education is a waste of time, so they would rather make money than going to school. We also have another one, which is wrong policies and priorities on the part of government and parents. The policies of government are not education friendly, and some parents place more priorities on other things than the education of their children. Yes, we also have inadequate learning facilities. Now there are some schools where they do not have the necessary learning materials, In some schools, they do not have tables and chairs where the children can sit on to learn. We also have lack of access to education. Lack of access to education simply means that some children do not have schools around them. Even if they desire to go to school, they do not have access to education because there are no schools around them, or even the ones that may be around them are very far from them, especially in some rural communities. They do not have schools around them in some rural communities, and even the schools that may be around them may be too far. So you discover that many of the children may not be able to maybe trek long distances from time to time to be able to attend such schools. So that makes them to become illiterate. All right. Then also we also go back to the lack of or inadequate learning facilities. Like I said before, there are some schools where they do not have the necessary learning facilities to be able to give room for an all-round education. For instance, the age we are in is an age of computers, but there are some schools that do not have computers to be able to teach their children. Some schools do not have the various laboratories like the science laboratory, home economics laboratory, to give their students all-round education. All right, some do not have books to learn. Now, what are the consequences of illiteracy? Like I said, from some of the pictures we have seen in this video, say illiteracy is a life sentence. What are the consequences of illiteracy? 1. An illiterate can easily be manipulated. We will say he or she can easily be manipulated. It simply means that such a person can easily be deceived or is prone to being deceived by other people. Then another consequence is ignorance. When someone is an illiterate, such a person will lack information about certain things. The person will not even know his or her rights or responsibility because he or she lacks information about his or her rights. Then we also have ethnic manipulation. Now, when there is a predominance of illiteracy in a particular group, it may result in a situation where such groups are marginalized among other groups in the country or society. Then, inhibition to technological development. Illiteracy also hinders or prevents personal and societal development. It prevents a society from technological advancements. Another consequence of illiteracy is that an illiterate's rights can easily be abused because he or she does not know his or her rights. So when someone does not know his or her right, such a person may not even be aware when his or her right is abused by anyone. So let's look at the solutions. How can we solve the problem of illiteracy today? Now we'll quickly look at some of those ways we can solve the problem of illiteracy in our society today. One of those ways is through legislation, through making laws. Now government should make laws to ensure to make education compulsory to a certain level. For instance, education, the least level for education should be the GS3 education. So making education compulsory to a certain level will help to solve illiteracy, the problem of illiteracy in society. Also, we have another one, enabling policies and priorities. Government should place its top priority on education. For instance, government should make laws that are policies that are educationally friendly. With this, we can be able to fight illiteracy. So government should make policies that will be advantageous to education. Education should be seen as a top priority of the government. Alright, we can also solve the problem of education, illiteracy, through public enlightenment. Now there is need for enlightenment programs to be carried out so that people can be aware of the consequences associated with illiteracy. When people are aware of the consequences associated with illiteracy, they want to go to school. Then there is a need for the provision of adequate learning facilities, basic learning facilities. First of all, we have chairs and tables, books, reading materials for children should be made available. Then we have adult literacy education. For those who may have missed the opportunity of going to school, something can still be done by going for adults education. There are schools for adults where they can read and write. Then government should employ qualified teachers in the various schools, especially in the public schools. Qualified teachers who are well paid, who should be well paid, who should have attractive salaries that will enable them to be able to carry out their job properly, motivate them to do their job properly, and be able to teach their children very well. Alright. Then also change of attitude. People need to change their attitude towards education. The attitude of saying education is a waste of time should be changed. Education should not be seen as an end, as a means to an end, but as an end in itself. Now, from today's lesson, we saw that illiteracy simply refers to the inability to read and write due to a lack of formal education, and a lot of factors are responsible for illiteracy, like poverty, traditions and values, and others and more. Now this is where I will be ending the lesson with you today. I'll see you in my next class. Bye for now. Thank you for watching.